You make an important point, and one, Kellyanne, I've said for a while now, and that's it. A lot of journalists, they prefer to cover the intrigue, right, of whatever personality challenges might be going on, as opposed to the actual policy. But it is the policy that's actually going to make the difference in this country. So with that in mind, let me ask you about that policy, starting with health care. What is this going to do?
So the executive order today is really important because this is a president that's frustrated with the lack of congressional action. Obviously, he went to the legislature this whole calendar year to try to get them to make good on their promise of 8 years to repeal and replace Obamacare. He's here 8 months. He just signed an executive order into effect this morning, and what it would do, among other things, is allow people to pull together who have really been left out of the system. Trish, they don't have employer-sponsored benefits like you and I and 175 million Americans do. They don't have government-sponsored benefits like you do if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, for example. And so these are sometimes our small business owners, our plumbers, our hairdressers, our carpenters who need another way to pull together to share that risk and share that cost with other similarly situated individuals who do not currently have health care. The president said something very important in his remarks around that executive order signing. He talked about the number of Americans who actually were pleased enough with the care they had before Obamacare hit. And he referred to it as the disaster of Obamacare because it's helped some people, but it's really destroyed many other people's access to meaningful health care benefits. So he's really trying to get coverage for those millions who have been left out of the system. Also, it includes the ability to get health insurance or pull together with others across state lines. This has always been a very attractive feature. Americans rightly ask, why can I buy auto insurance across state lines, but I can't buy my health insurance?
I hear you. This has been a big complaint of a lot of us here on this network. And Kellyanne, I come from a small state, New Hampshire. They don't have a very big population.
That's right.
So when you're trying to buy health insurance, it's very challenging because you don't have enough of a population to, spread that risk around.
That's right.
So hopefully this will make a difference. What's your expectation? Does this mean lower premiums?
It certainly could, because we also recognize that all these insurers have fled the exchanges. We have about a third of the counties in our country right now that only have one insurer. That's not a choice. One is not a choice by definition. And you see that some of these people, like many Americans, are willing to pay the penalties than participate in the system because it's just not economically beneficial. So we're trying to get those insurers to be able to be in a more competitive marketplace, but we're mainly looking at these consumers and saying, we want you to have access to health insurance, and we don't want you to have to wait until Congress, till Capitol Hill gets its act together. So to the extent that the president can ever find a way to do things on his own more speedily, Trump speed, not swamp speed, he will do it. And you saw that today in living color with the health care EO.
I did, and I think it's a good thing, but, people get a little cautious when you're talking about executive orders because they don't like the idea of, a president, and we saw that certainly with President Obama going out there and ruling by executive order. But in this case, the hope is it really might save some people some money. Let me also ask you about tax reform, because that's the biggie that the market is counting on, Kellyanne. And given that the Republicans couldn't get their act together enough to pass repeal and replace, can we expect anything different here with tax reform?
Yes, this White House has been working on tax reform the entire calendar year. We feel like we have a very good plan in place. The president is barnstorming the country. It's his third address, I believe, last night in Harrisburg with the truckers and other small business owners and people who say they've been affected by our current tax system. The woman who moved from Queens to Pennsylvania because she just couldn't run her business there. The man who works in the inner city of Philadelphia saying that the tax code is really caused a lot of folks to struggle, lose their jobs, lose their wages. We look at our tax cut package, Trish, as a jobs bill. It's a jobs package as well, and it's going to raise wages for Americans. These companies, these employers, job creators, going from 35% to 20% tax liability. The small business owners who do pass-through is 25%. Basically, this will be the lowest tax rate they've had in decades, if not ever. And why is that important? Because they will reinvest that money back into their companies, back into their workforce, give more generous benefits, give better job security, raise the wages, or you'll lose your employees to other companies who can raise their wages. And they'll invest in inventory. They'll invest in better products, research and development, innovation and technology. And then we want to repatriate all that money back from overseas, where we are encouraging companies to legally park the jobs and the wealth overseas. So a more competitive environment, that lifts all boats. This is a middle-class tax cut. We feel very good. And look, I want to tell my Republican friends on Capitol Hill, if the Republican Party, if you became a Republican for no other reason, we know it was because you believe in less government and lower taxes. So let's have at it.
Well, you know, you're preaching to the choir on this. I mean, this is something I think the economy really needs, Kellyanne. However, you know what the naysayers are going to say. I mean, you're going to have Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and others saying this is just a tax cut for big businesses, for the rich. And you know, there are going to be a lot of fiscal hawks out there. They're saying we cannot afford this. So I guess my question is, do you have the right strategy in place to be able to present this tax cut package as something that's really going to work for everyone? Because it's too easy for the left to say it's just about big business.
Yes, and they've said it so long and so loudly that I think it's why they're the minority party now. People just don't believe them, and they don't believe in higher taxes. They know that we are one of the most highest tax countries in the developed world. We know that our corporate tax, our job creator tax, is among the highest. And then we're one of only 6 countries, I believe, Trish, that taxes your profits again when you bring them back here to reinvest them. It's crazy. We're one of 6 countries because other countries got smart to what America was doing for many years. They said, hey, they've got low rates there, and look how prosperous they are. Look at all the job creation. Look at all the manufacturing as a base. They smartened up and did what we were doing, and then we went in the opposite direction. And so I would say people who are attacking it before they even see it that says more about them than us, than this tax cut package. But they should also recognize the child care tax credit, the doubling of the personal exemption, where your first $24,000 as a married couple filing is completely tax-free. The first $24,000, first $12,000 for an individual filer. Then you're doing away with the marriage penalty tax. You're doing away with the death tax so that these family businesses, these legacy businesses can continue. Many of them are manufacturing, trucking, farming. And so in addition, this is the big one, your tax liability goes from 7 brackets to 3, and then it goes down. It goes from, we have 0%, 12%, 25%, 35%. We'll have more people paying 0% in taxes than we do now, basically double the number.
Let the money go to the people that earn it, and let's be competitive. All good stuff. Kellyanne, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Trish. Always a pleasure. Take care.